Hello, welcome back to another video and a review, actually. It's been a while since I've done this, and the first thing I'm going to say is come with me on a journey, if you will, back to the days where you'd go to the video store and rent a game. And the reason I bring that up for a lot of people that are my age brings back a lot of nostalgia, brings back a lot of memories, and I invoke those memories because that's exactly how I feel about this game that I'm about to review, which is Mafia: The Old Country. Mafia: The Old Country, I think, is the quintessential perfect, video game rental game. It's just simply okay. And I think it'd be a perfect, 3 to 5 day rental game. Let me preface this by saying, when I was all said and done with Mafia, I did not 100% this game. I did play through it on hard, and we're going to talk about that, because that does factor into my review. I did set out to platinum this game. I played it on the PS5 Pro, and then I realized that the game has a really shitty collectible, which is 50 of these golden foxes, and I am so checked out of just shitty collectibles to collect just to collect. And I've been out on those for a while, so that kind of broke me off from platinuming this game. I mean, I could go back and do it. I don't feel like doing that. So I passed on getting a platinum, but I never changed the difficulty. I kept it at hard, and I ended up getting that gold trophy, but yeah, quintessentially, this is the perfect rental game. It's just simply okay. It didn't really invoke a lot of emotion in me. There was nothing. I actually struggled at times to get into this game and get back to it, because nothing was pulling me into this experience whatsoever as I played through it. It's not a long game. When I was all said and done, it took me 13 hours just to complete the story. Granted, I played it on hard, so if you play on a lower difficulty, it might be a little bit quicker for you. If you were to try and 100% this game, you're looking at about a 20-hour investment. I just didn't feel like spending that time for that. Let's dive in. Mafia: The Old Country. I'll talk about story when I talk about spoilers, but the story is an incredibly generic Mafia story. And you know what's funny is, thinking back on the Mafia games, I've played all these games at release, with the exception of the original Mafia. I played it on PC, but Mafia 2, pre-ordered, played it day one. Mafia 3, same ordeal. And this one as well, and the remake in 2019, which is a really, really, really good remake. And thinking back on it after completing this one, I kind of had the realization of pretty much every Mafia game has kind of just an okay story. It doesn't really, they're usually very cliched, very much in those Mafia storylines for sure, and this one doesn't do anything different. The get up here is that you were essentially a Sicilian slave, working in I guess a coal mine or some sort of mine, and you decide to stand up one day, and there's kind of an accident in the mine. You get out, through some events you escape, you end up on the rival turf. So there's a completely different mob family turf here in Sicily, and you're saved by the Don there, who then you go work for him, and the story is about you working up the ranks. But also at the same time as you're working up the ranks, you fall in love with the Don's daughter. So there's that Romeo and Juliet forbidden romance going on here. And I will say, every single cliche, every single thing you could imagine about this game happens in this game. We'll talk about it when I get to the spoiler part, but it's very cliched, and I think that's one of the reasons I had a real hard time getting into the story. The story wasn't drawing me in, and that's what a Mafia game typically is. So as far as the gameplay goes, this is not an open world game. It does have open world sections, if that makes sense, but it's very linear in comparison to previous Mafia games, and I actually think that works to its advantage here. Driving in this game is not fun. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't think driving has been very fun in any of the Mafia games. I think it's been serviceable, and it's also very telling to me that you can skip almost every single driving sequence with the exception of 2 races and a very frustrating chase at the end. At least on hard, there's a very frustrating chase at the end that I had to redo it, and it has a terrible checkpoint, and I should not have had to redo it. Let's talk about hard difficulty, because that's one thing in here. So the way this game handles a more challenging difficulty is kind of crazy. Instead of just making the game more challenging, it's almost like they put this invincibility shield around enemies so that they can withstand a shot or two before they start taking damage. I ran into so many sequences where a guy would run up against me and I would literally have a shotgun and shoot them point blank with the shotgun, only for it to not affect them at all. And then they would kill me because it's a hard difficulty. This happened many times. It actually pissed me off a lot while I was playing the game. It's like, come on, man. Like, I get it. It's a harder difficulty, but you're right next to me. With the exception of one weapon in the game, which is like a high-powered single-shot rifle, which you will kill somebody in one hit. So, but it, I don't think the gameplay, or I should say the gunplay, is particularly great either. It's serviceable, it's passable for what this game is trying to accomplish, but nothing about it stands out. It's very like Uncharted, generic, take cover and, you know, pop a few shots off. Eventually you'll get to sequences where they'll have an enemy try to rush you. Hence where that comes in, that like, oh shit, I have to, you know, try and shoot this person. Oh no, it didn't happen, you know. Those sequences are very, very stupid. It looks great visually. I think the presentation and the voice acting is all top notch for this game, considering I would say this is a B grade game in terms of, like, it's not a AAA game. I wouldn't even say it's a AA. I guess it is a AA game. It's not a AAA game for sure, but this is like that, you know, video rental tier video game, which existed 20-25 years ago. It just doesn't really exist anymore. And I think at the end of the day, if the price tag for this game was $70 out the gate, I would be a lot more upset with it. But being $50, I got it for $40 because I had a coupon. I think that was a fair enough price, that where I'm not upset with my purchase or anything. Let's briefly talk about spoilers of this game, and because it's such a strange thing to me. So you play as Enzo in this game. I don't remember the character's last name. Like I said, you find yourself into this Don. I think the name's Don Teresi, if I'm saying it correctly. You find yourself, after getting out of captivity, in the hands of Don Teresi. You work your way up there. Well, simultaneously, you're kind of courting his daughter, but he doesn't know it because he doesn't want anybody courting his daughter. So you have a forbidden romance. It gets that cliched point. Like, there's literally a point where the game's ramping up to this big event where it's like, boy, shit's really going to go down. This would be the perfect time for this girl to come say she's pregnant, and then, oh shit, that's what happens. It's very generic and cliched like that, and extremely predictable. Except for the end. And that's the craziest part of this game. So the very end of this game, the last chapter, it's you, it's her, I believe her name was Isabella, and you guys are like trying to get out of Sicily. You're going to run away together to America, and you're going to start a new life and get out of all this because of the child that you're going to have. Well, Don Teresi finds out. Obviously, he's super fucking pissed, and he basically takes you and her back, splits you up. They're going to take her away, and they're literally going to abort her child, and then she's going to be given over to some baron of some other family because she's promised to be betrothed to somebody else. And I would assume they're probably just going to fucking kill you, but obviously you go, you meet up with the Don. He doesn't want to have any reasoning with you. You fight him. You fight the cousin who's kind of been your buddy throughout the game. You end up killing him, or so you think, and then there's this big sequence where you fight the Don. And I should mention, that's one other aspect of this game. One I actually did like is all the boss fights in this game are these knife fights, and I think that where the gunplay lacks in this game, It doesn't lack in terms of this knife fight stuff. I mean, the knife fight stuff is really, really, really good. It just becomes the same thing over and over again. But I do enjoy, they really kind of overhauled that melee combat. I think that's very effective. But you fight him, there's a volcano going off in the background, which is ridiculous. You end up killing the Don, and then out of nowhere, this cousin shows up again, and you're kind of like, hey, and it's super predictable, but he's like, come here, brother, I forgive you, whatever. And I'm like, oh, he's going to fucking stab and kill this character. He does. And so your character you played as for 13 hours is dead. You then shift the perspective to Isabella, and you play as her for the final 20 minutes of this game. It's all stealth. It's not very good stealth either. And then you have the final battle, which they do a terrible job of explaining to you what you're supposed to do in this final battle. I did finally figure it out, but it doesn't work like any other boss battle in the game, and they don't explain it to you. So, but you beat the final guy, which is like the Don's henchman who's going to take you to that abortion appointment. Once you kill him, that cousin shows up, and she walks up to him, and she's just like, where's Enzo? And he's just like, oh, he's not going to make it. And he hands you some money and then just walks away into this fire. And it's kind of like, wait, what? Why would he have killed that guy if he wasn't going to kill her? It's so bizarre. And I think it was just done for pure shock value, but it doesn't work for me. Because there's no reason. The final shot of this game is she's on a boat. She's arriving in Empire City, which is the fictional New York in this universe, and that's where the game ends. My assumption is that the child she has probably is a character from the first Mafia game. I just didn't bother to do that research, but that would be my assumption. For me, it's a 6 out of 10. I'll say right here, and this ends the spoilers game. It's a 6 out of 10. I think I enjoyed my time with it when I could get into it, but I think it's too generic, too cliched story-wise. I think the gunplay could definitely use an improvement, but I do think that, and one of the reasons why I wanted to buy it right away is between this and Clair Obscur, which came out earlier this year, there's this precedent for putting out $50 games, like $50 AA games, and I think the audience, general gamers are accepting that a lot more and voting with their wallet. So I wanted to vote with my wallet and show these publishers, like, do more of this stuff. Like, even though a lot of Mafia doesn't work for me, $50, and like, I'd rather see more quality games like this, because like, even then, the production value, the visuals, it does. I played it on PS5 Pro. I played it on performance mode. It does not lock to 60. There are definitely some times where you can tell it's chugging a little bit, but nothing was ever too horrible or terrible, and for the most part, it runs at a pretty solid 60. But again, I want to show these developers and these publishers, you can make $50 experiences, and we're all okay with it. So, for me, it's a 6 out of 10. I was really hoping it was going to be a better and bigger and brighter release for 2025, but it just really wasn't for me. I will say, with all that, and I do sound like I'm genuinely, like, really negatively talking about the game, but I did enjoy my time with it, and I would like Hainer 13 to, my dream for the next Mafia, instead of going in the past, I want to go in the future, but not to present day. I want to go to the 80s. And I think if you took this franchise to the 80s and set it during kind of like the Colombian drug trade, Scarface could be a huge influence. I think that would be inherently way more interesting than doing a modern Mafia game. And I'd really like to see that. Outside of the Scarface game and Vice City, nobody's really done that. So I think that would be where I would like to see the franchise go. But do another one of these. This was a interesting experiment that I think, for the most part, works. I'd love to know in the comments below what you guys think of the game. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.